All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Super excited to highlight one of our clients, Cole, here. He's had a really incredible transformation in his practice, had a lot of really great success and growth in an election year of no other time, right? Where some practices are struggling to find new folks. And Cole trusted us in the process where he was solo provider, ultimately brought on one of our admins, and then recently was able to bring on his wife actually as the first provider in his practice. And I absolutely love the way that his practice has grown over the last few years. Or the last few months, he's really just built the systems and processes that he has needed to get to the next point. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of highlight his story of what it was like to work with us and share some of your wins over the last few months. So Cole, thanks for jumping in with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely excited.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, tell us, why don't you start like super high level to start? Like, tell us about your practice, where you're located, and kind of walk us through over your journey over the last few months.
Cool. So yeah, I'm a chiropractor. I run a rehab chiropractic clinic in Springfield, Missouri. So kind of different from a lot of chiropractors, which has been the challenge of like learning how to like get new patients. But um, once you start getting down the processes and get the sales calls down and really start highlighting how you're different, it's really helped bring on a ton of new patients. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, how long have you been in practice, and then how long was it before you brought on kind of your first employee?
Yeah, so I started in February of 23 and did just like the flying solo thing for a year, and then really started getting into more like networking groups and like mastermind groups and stuff at the beginning of the year, and realized that I needed to have some support around me to help build this practice out. So I think it was about June was whenever I kind of reached out to you and found my admin, who's been such a huge help for me. So yeah, since then, like the numbers have just consistently gone up, like having the extra hands on deck. So it's been
Yeah,
really useful.
yeah, that's awesome, man. What walk me through kind of where you were at in your practice right as you were about to hire? Because I think there's a lot of practices that like they sit on that edge for a while, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm busy, like I've got good revenue coming in, like maybe I'm just not ready to like actually hire somebody. So like where were you at kind of like as you were on the edge of hiring?
Yeah.
And then we can kind of plot the growth on the back end of that.
Yeah. So I got stuck in this like vicious cycle of I would get busy, and then I would be so busy that I couldn't answer phones, I couldn't return calls, I couldn't do anything. And then people would get better, and then my schedule would just tank because like all the people who were trying to get in when I was busy, I wasn't able to get to them in like a good amount of time. So I was kind of just riding this roller coaster of highs and lows for about 2 months, and finally I was just like, I need to do something different because I can't. I run paid ads, so I was paying to get these people to like reach out and like call. So I was just throwing money away on my busy weeks, and then like so I knew I needed to do something different. So that's kind of what got me looking at an admin route. Um, and so that just reached out through the grapevine on one of my mastermind groups, and they told me about you guys. So that's when I reached out to you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think so many, like, I did this in my own practice too, where you're just like in that stuck point, you're frustrated, you're just like, I can't afford to hire anybody because my revenue's a roller coaster. But it's like, dude, I can't continue on this path of being stuck and like wondering why the heck I can't get out, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing that I was really worried about was like if it didn't work and I hit like the slow time, like what's going to happen? Am I going to like hire somebody and then have to like fire them immediately because I can't afford to pay them, sort of thing? Or like was I
Right.
going to be able to pay myself and like not have to like earn money 1 month because of me having to like pay somebody else? But honestly, it's been the exact opposite of what I was afraid of. Like it's actually really
That's awesome.
smoothed things out more so than it's like than it's hurt things, or like I've been a whole lot more comfortable since paying somebody else to like manage my calls and my phones than I was whenever I was trying to just do everything myself. So
Yeah, that's the best, man. I love that kind of like peace of mind where you just feel like you're not throwing money away. And like I see this all the time where it's like you're stuck and then you take that leap of faith and you're able to kind of turn your ad spend up and you're kind of able to continue to make that push and grind into the next place. So walk me through like what are some things that you kind of offloaded to your remote admin, as you brought them into the practice, like what are some things that you look to offload that were kind of getting put on the back burner, which I think is obviously a really common point. So like, what are some things you offloaded and kind of freed up finally once you brought that admin on board?
sure. Well, the biggest thing for me was like just patient communication. Like I said, like my biggest thing is if I'm in a room with somebody, I don't want to like stop my treatment to answer the phone or something. I just feel like if somebody's paying me for my time, I want to be there 100% with them. So I was really lacking that patient communication. So having somebody just there to answer the phones and do the discovery calls was a huge benefit to me. But then also now I've got people who are like scheduling through her, so I don't have to like take the time after the patient to schedule.
That's
Um,
awesome.
once she grew comfortable with the role, we got it to where she was doing like KPI tracking and she's going back and finding out like where the leads are coming from and putting spreadsheets together so I know like how do I need to change my marketing? Do I need to go this direction? Do I need to go that direction? Um, and then one of the other big helps for me was um, like Google reviews. I think everybody like struggles with Google reviews, but
Yep.
my personality type, I just don't like asking for things. I don't like seeming desperate to people. So
Sure.
I was really bad about asking for Google reviews, but the way we've got things set up with our patient tracker and everything, um, we get an automation after so many weeks of a patient being on that's like, hey, if they're progressing, ask them for a Google review. And so whenever that comes up, she'll ask me like, hey, how's this person doing? Should I get a Google review
Nice.
out of them? And and if they're going well, then she'll text them. And I've literally probably almost doubled my Google reviews in the last six
Dang.
months. So
Dang,
yeah,
that's awesome. And
yeah,
that's just
it's
going to
been
boost up that SEO and everything else happening at that point.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. Whenever I first started, I went around and tried to figure out like how many Google reviews a lot of the other clinics that I would be competing against had. And so like my goal for the year is I was trying to get to 40 Google reviews. Like that was my big thing. I wanted to get to 40 because most clinics that aren't like the huge like 5 or 6 doctors that have been here for ten years sort of thing, most of them were in that like 30 to 60 range. And
Hmm.
so like my goal for December, like the end of the year was to have 40 and I think I'm sitting on 75 right now. So
Nice, dude.
like
That's
just
awesome, man.
yeah,
Shattering goals.
yeah, it all came down to just the fact that like she's not afraid to text and ask somebody for them, and I was like just too hesitant to do it. So
That's awesome. I love it when you get somebody that'll like kind of force you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And it's like, all right,
yeah,
I've got somebody that's taking
yeah,
that off my plate and it's not going to drag me down even more.
yeah. Well, and that's been the thing. Like the interview process was really nice because um, really found somebody who like kind of filled in my gaps. Like our personalities are extremely similar, but like my weakness is she's kind of got strengths in, so it kind of like filled in
Yeah.
the gaps of where I was missing versus like just doubling down on like two of me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was really useful too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and Cole's kind of referring to like the way we do the interview process, which is basically like, hey, we're not a call center, like we're not an agency, like I don't know your practice nearly as well as like you do, and so like being able to just hand you potential admins who are already trained is going to make that hiring process so much easier because now it's just
Yeah,
you're just finding personality fit at that point.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And it was like I'm sure that you talk about this all the time, but the fact that she came from like the medical field, so she knew kind of
Yeah.
how a medical office operates. She was a dental assistant before she started working for me, so she'd been in the dental field. Like she started just doing things that I wouldn't even have thought to ask her to do. She just did them
Yeah.
because that's what she did at the dental clinic. So, like she started making my Fridays, like if I had gaps in my schedule on Fridays, she'd start calling patients at the end of the schedule and see if they'd moved down so I
Yeah.
could get off work sooner. And
That's
just
the
small
best.
stuff. Yeah, just small stuff I didn't even think about that she just like, this is what we did at the dental clinic. So that's what she was doing.
That's the
And
friggin' best. I love that.
yeah, yeah, small stuff like that's what I really appreciated most about her.
Yeah, man. I think that yeah, having that medical background's huge, right? They just get it. They've been in that world. They understand it. And then, like, if a patient brings up some crazy medical term, they're not just like blasted by it, or they have a feel for the flow and the way things of the office go, and
Yeah.
that's what moves the needle and shrinks that learning curve quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, like, once she started doing that, I was, like, just started asking her, like, "Hey, do you have any, like, recommendations that we can do things better?" Because like, she clearly knew things that I didn't even think about, so, we've even incorporated some more stuff that she was doing previously into kind of some of our processes, so
Heck yeah, man. I love that. I love that. What so the coolest thing of all of this though is like, all right, dude, you got your time back, like you kind of got that peace of mind, that customer experience piece obviously grew, your revenue grew. You I think you told me earlier, you're like, hey, I hit our second busiest, like our busiest patient care week once she
yeah.
joined in.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
like the
like,
second week she was there.
yeah, the second week she was there, you were finally like full enough to like actually see patients as opposed to doing all the other stuff in between.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the coolest thing though is you got to bring your wife on. Like that's the thing that I love the most about all of this.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a huge benefit both for the office and just for family life. Like, whenever I opened the practice, she was working at another practice that, like, we both knew she wasn't gonna like long term, but they paid well and it kept the lights on at our house. So she kind of
Right.
floated us for a year there, but um, yeah, like, it was just getting to the point where, like, I could tell that she wasn't very happy with the job anymore, and the
Sure.
fact that, like, I had gotten busy enough. Like, originally I was my original plan was I was going to hire somebody else first and then bring her on second, but it was like to the point where we were busy enough here that I was comfortable, and I was like, let's get her out and, like, free up her life a little bit better. And then, like, things are going so well with how things were progressing at the time that I was like, we'll bring her on and then we can probably still grow and hire another person over the next, like, 3 to 6 months anyway. So
Dude, that's epic, man. That's so good. I love that because it's like so many people will either bring on another provider or they'll bring on another front desk. They don't have their systems, they don't have their processes in place, or the front desk continues to be a leaky bucket where leads aren't being followed up with efficiently, or people aren't coming in and buying a package or a plan of care. And like
yeah,
you've got a well-oiled machine now at this point, and now it's just a matter of, hey, let's increase the lead flow into the system and we're going to get to where we want to go. And that's got to provide a ton of peace of mind to you.
yeah, absolutely. Like, um, just something that she does really well that I wasn't doing well, and, like, didn't realize how, like, useful it was until she started doing it, was just, like, talking to people about pricing and everything before they came in. Um,
Yeah.
like, it's just been so much easier to get people on a plan of care and get them to, like, commit to care whenever they're coming in kind of already knowing what it's supposed to look like versus, like,
Heck yeah.
prior to prior to training her. Like, a lot of my discovery calls, even though, like, I had a script of what I was going to file, it really just ended up being more of, like, the, like, subjective of the eval, and, like,
Right.
walked out of there knowing what they had going on but not really having, like, anything. Like, they still didn't really know anything about me, so making that switch I think has been really beneficial too.
That's the best, man. I love it. I love it. Well, dude, your success has been really fun to watch. What would you say to like somebody who's on the fence of like hiring an admin in either in person or even virtual? Like, what would you say to somebody who's kind of on the fence about doing that? Because I think there's a lot of folks who sit on that fence for way too long.
Yeah, I was one of them. The thing that I've learned the longer I've been in business is that, like, scared money doesn't make money. So, like,
I
just
love that.
just hoarding the little bit of gains that you're making in a savings account isn't going to help the business grow. So, it is an investment, but I think it's like, the thing about investments is that there's a return on them. So
Mm.
as long as you're being smart about it, and I think, like, listening to you on our original call, like, learning how your process went, I knew coming out of that it was going to be, like, a useful investment for my practice. So I think, at least, do some research and figure out what direction you want to go. But you're not going to get anywhere by sitting on the fence. So
Yeah, I love that, man. Dude, well, Colt, thanks for the time, man. It's been a pleasure as always. And yeah, dude, we'll catch up soon.
Great. Sounds good.